But I wanted to say too before we end that I think it's something beautiful about when two people come together in agreement. A lot of things can happen.
Yes.
And so when two of you agree, I feel like that's confirmation from God. It's like, we both agreeing, we both sense this at the same time. Like, powerful things happen when two people come together.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters. This is a podcast where we talk about marriage matters because marriage matters. If you're joining us for the very first time, my name is Glenn Coleman, and I'm joined, as always, by my radiant wife.
Hi, I'm Tanya Coleman.
And as you can see, we have some very special guests in the building joining us. The power couple.
Yes.
The not future, but the leaders of the world, Michael and Ashley Walter. Let's give it up for them. Introduce yourselves and just tell us a little bit about yourselves.
All right.
I'll let you go.
Okay. Well, we are the Walters.
We are.
I'm Ashley Walter. Of course, this is Michael Walter. And we are currently living in Louisiana.
Right. But after this airs.
Right. Once this airs, we'll actually be living in Tennessee.
Yes.
But I am an elementary school teacher. We have been.
You're an author.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. She's written a devotional, guys.
Yeah.
There you go.
Always in Blossom. Go check it out.
So.
And Michael?
I'm a musician, minister. I'm trying to think, creative, all of that. Mm-hmm. Good songwriter.
And we've been married for, it'll be 5 years in June.
Yeah.
5 years, awesome.
Okay, 5 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good place. 5 years is a good place.
We got a little skin in the game.
Just a little bit. But we got a lot to learn. Long way to go.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna say this, and this is no cap, like the young people say. For me, Glenn.
Yeah.
Michael Walter is in my top 5 musicians of all time, top 5 vocalists of all time. Mm-hmm. So I pay homage, brother.
Man, I appreciate that, man.
Yes, absolutely. He's in my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Top 5.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. So that's not what we may talk a little bit about that, but we're talking about marriage, and we've been wanting to have you guys on for a while. So there's a couple of things that we want to talk about. But the first thing we always want to know is kind of tell us the story of Michael and Ashley and Michael. You kind of tell us, how did this come to be?
Well, we met in college at Northwestern State University, which is in Natchitoches, Louisiana. If anybody knows where
NSU.
NSU.
Demons.
Right.
Forkham Demons.
But we're not demons. We are children of the Most High.
Yes, sir.
But we met in the music media lab. I happened to work there.
And I was a music major.
As a work study. Michael was a music major. And I was not working that day, but I was in there, typing up a paper, and he came and sat by me, and he started a conversation with me. And I was like, okay, now who is this? Just random stranger just came up and started talking to me. Yeah, you know how most people come and skip a seat, because there are several seats next to me. Most people will skip a seat and then sit.
Right.
No, he did not do that. He sat right next to me in the chair, and he was like, "So, what you doing? You typing a paper?" I was like, "Yeah." I wasn't really trying to have a whole lot of conversation, but I knew right away that he was a believer. They loved the Lord right away.
That's a good thing.
Yes, that is a good thing. And he asked me my name, where I'm from, things like that. So just to make a long story short, he kept coming back. He discovered that I worked there.
I did.
So I
Hold on,
started
wait.
seeing him.
Now, I had work to do. I was a music major. I had
Okay.
work that I had to do too.
Well, I'm not saying you didn't have any work. But,
Oh, okay. Just clean that up. You're like, he kept coming back when I found out you worked there. Like,
I mean, I had never seen him in there before, or I wasn't paying attention. But after that, I saw him in there like every week, like and he would always make it a point to come talk to me behind the desk.
I did.
So we just we went on our first date, which wasn't the best date. Didn't go very, very well. I ended up friend zoning him for a year and a half.
I have to hear more about this story.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, do y'all want to hear about the first date?
We'd love to hear about the first date.
Let's get into it.
You actually just answered one of my other questions, was who showed interest first, and so you just shared that, Ashley.
It was me. I'll admit it was me. It was definitely me.
Yeah. Well, he ended up asking me for my name on Facebook and all that stuff. He's like, I'm gonna look you up. I
was just trying to develop a relationship.
Right.
Trying to see. I thought she was, beautiful girl, but I didn't know her. So trying to get to know you.
He was.
It was genuine.
Yes. So, and I also forgot to mention this cool little fact. So the very first day I met Michael in the computer lab, he had walked away to get something out of the printer. And as he was coming back, I thought to myself, and now I know later on this was like the Holy Spirit, but I thought to myself, I was like, Lord, is that my husband? Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, that's so silly. I just met this guy. So I'd always like to say, like, that was the Holy Spirit kind of like, hey.
I didn't find this out till later.
Yeah, we can't tell y'all that moment. We can't tell y'all that immediately. So
yeah, because I definitely would be like,
yeah. So I actually forgot about that too until a little bit later once we started dating. I was like, you know what? When I first met you, I forgot about that. But anyway, so we were on Facebook and he sent me a separate message on Facebook. It happened to be my birthday. And he sent me a message on Facebook saying, hey, I'd like to take you out. I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. Can we, go out to dinner? And so I had realized at that point that he was a pretty genuine guy. I didn't sense any, foolishness or, player vibes, as people say. I didn't get that.
I had time for that.
He didn't know. So I was like, okay, sure. I think that'd be a good idea. So he came and picked me up, but he was really nervous.
You don't want to make you look bad, huh?
What?
Did it go that smooth?
No.
It did not go that smooth.
It didn't.
You didn't even want to give me your number. Y'all, she played hard to get. Let's go there.
Well, he did ask me for my number on Facebook, but I was like, nah, we can just keep,
on Facebook. Now, back then, though, understand this. This isn't the Facebook Messenger that we have today. We're talking like you gotta go get a Wi-Fi connection. You gotta go get on the computer. You know what I'm saying? Log back in to see, the check. Like, it isn't like today. Today is great. So I'm like, how am I gonna know when she?
I was just very leery of giving my number out. I was just not.
It's like, child, I ain't gonna do nothing with the number, but call you.
I know. But my roommates were like, now, if you agree to go out on a date with them, don't you think you should give them your number? I was like, okay.
That's common sense.
You're probably right. So
I guess I would have to be like, Lord, tell me where she is.
I did play hard to get.
You did. You definitely did.
Hey. But so anyway, he came and picked me up. But he was very nervous. He forgot to open my door. He would talk over me and all that stuff. And when we got to the restaurant, the only thing we talked about, y'all, I'm not even lying.
Hold on, wait. Can we put this disclaimer on first before you just totally make me look bad?
Okay, tell the disclaimer.
So, in this, before she says what she's getting ready to say, I was in a very strong season of fasting and praying, to the point where I would rather read the word and go to class. And so I was just digesting the word. And so that's just where I was. And I probably shouldn't have probably gone on a date. Like now looking back, because I probably might have been like a little intense, and I'm sure I just like blasted her with the word of God. But I was passionate. She knew I loved the Lord, but yeah, that wasn't all she wanted to hear.
He was eating, so that was all that was coming out. So
hey, what's in you was gonna come out of you.
Which is
good stuff, though. Praise the Lord.
If I didn't know anything else, I knew that he had a relationship with the Lord, because that's all we talked about. He was very serious and like, God, Bible.
No fun. Huh?
No fun. And to me, I was like, I love the Lord. I was like, Lord, I love you, but I want to talk about something else.
Need some balance over here, huh?
And that's why I'm a very balanced.
She's brought that to my life, I will say.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, so that kind of scared me off, I think, a little bit.
But you didn't know me, though.
I didn't, but I can only go off what I knew,
right?
From the date. Because that's what dating is. It's like you're gathering information about people.
Right.
So that's all I had to go off of. So, like I said, I kind of friend zoned him after that.
Kind of?
I did. I really did.
He's like, kind of.
Yeah, I kind of put it
That's gracious.
in that zone.
No.
But we remained friends for a year and a half. And out of that blossomed a greater friendship, as we like to say.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
And we're here today.
There you go. You made it through all of that.
That is awesome.
Grace.
Yeah.
I like. There's always two sides to because it's all perspective. It's the way I saw it, the way she saw it. So, but that's pretty awesome. So, so you guys get married, and what do you think? If I could ask you, what is your philosophy on marriage, and how did you guys come to that? This like I like to refer to it as our way. This is the way we do life. So what is that for the Walters, and how did you guys come to that place where you are now?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
I don't know. I think for us that whenever we first got married, it was like, this is it. Like there is no plan B. Mm-hmm. Like whatever happens, we're always going to come together. We're always going to work it out. We're going to talk it out. Yeah. Like divorce is not an option.
You have to communicate.
Like we have to communicate.
Like that's what we know. Like communication is key.
Yeah.
Like about it all, about everything. You gotta communicate.
Right.
That muscle has to be strengthened. Really, it should be strengthened in your dating or courting. Some people want to call it, because you're really gonna need that muscle.
Yeah.
In marriage.
Yeah.
Because you got to talk about a lot of things, and you got to figure out a lot of things. Like marriage is a journey, as y'all know. And so, it's a lot to talk about, more than your favorite color, more than the places you like to go eat and the movies you like to see. Like you got to deal with real issues and real finances.
All of that.
Yeah. And we're gonna get there, definitely. But it's funny you say that, and we've said this before on this podcast, but I think it's so funny. Like whenever we do coaching or counseling with couples, and we ask them, what is it that you need to work on? 90% of the time they say communication.
Wow.
I think it's so ironic that that's something, and you refer to it as a muscle, Michael. It's funny because we're not taught how to communicate.
Right.
Nope.
And even, growing up, I just, we didn't have our parents did the best that they knew how to do. But we were not given very much leadway as it concerns communication. You do what I say, when I say, how I say. I don't want to hear why. I don't want to know how you feel about it, what you think about it. So we didn't have a lot. And growing up in that kind of environment really doesn't teach you how to express feelings. It doesn't teach you how to express concerns. And so I know for me personally, that's something that, and I'm still working on that muscle of communication, because I'd rather not say anything than to have conflict, in my marriage. I just want to keep the peace, so that's real great, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I was going to say, I think conflict is one of those things that people look at in a negative way, and like and that's something that we used to pride ourselves on, that, we never argue, we never have conflict. Well, that's because we were never talking about things we needed to talk about.
Exactly.
And I think it's the friction of the conflict and dealing with hard stuff is really what has helped us to grow the most and really learn the process of healthy communication. I think some of us, I know I had bad examples of when dealing with conflict, it turned into something chaotic, and it doesn't have to be that,
Right.
So I think that's where, what, like you said, using that communication muscle, learning to communicate well with one another, and in turn being able to teach communication to other people, to our children, to other couples. It's really important so that we can begin to change, that narrative in marriages and in our homes. So yeah.
Yeah. I think it's not the conflict that's bad, because sometimes even growing up, for Christians, we're like, oh, all conflict is bad. It's like, no, it's not the case.
It's actually inevitable.
It's actually, it's going to happen.
Because you're going to have two different.
Right.
You're talking about a merge, like I heard somebody say, like, marriage is like a collision, and what's left after that, the crash, is what you build your life on. But it's like that is what it is. She has a perspective of how she grew up, and then I have a completely different perspective of how I grew up. So I mean, we're gonna have to talk about that, and inevitably, she's gonna think something different about the way I see something.
But it's how you handle the conflict and the tools that you use to work through them. I think that's
and being respectful, disagreeing. Like, I like to say disagreement is a sign of normality, because we're people. We're just, you like blue, you like red. It's okay. The relationship is not on fire. You know that. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is, though. Our society is like, something's in trouble. Like, everything is bad. Like, no, it's okay. Let's go into marriage conferences. They're like, is y'all marriage in trouble? Like, we've got to change our mindset that things have to be bad for us to get better.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I, there's so many times I've talked to, I get the emergency phone call from a guy. He's like, hey, man, she's leaving. She's packing her bags. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Tell her not to leave. I'm like, I can't, so I'm like, and you're right. We wait till it gets, we were in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and it was about suicide prevention. And that's one of the things they were talking about, is normalizing mental health. And I was like, I wanted to ask and I didn't, but I was like, how many of you in this room see a counselor, a coach, a whatever? And I'm willing to bet most people don't, but like you said, we have to. It's like mental health, wellness. It's just like physical health. We have to do our due diligence to, just like we have to exercise and eat healthy, we have to do the work to remain mentally healthy. And you're right, even in our relationships, I always say, we do maintenance on everything, every, 3,000, 5,000 miles, we take our cars to get them serviced. We get Terminex to come out and spray our house every 6 months, whatever. We do all this other maintenance, but when it comes to our marriage, our relationship, which is probably the most, next to God, the most important relationship that we have, like you're right, we don't ask for help until a lot of times it's almost too late.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not saying that there's not that it's not that every situation is hopeless.
Right.
What I'm saying is, man, if you do the work up front, then it makes it that much easier. What are some tools you think? Because you talked about how did you say it? You said something like conflict. When we're having conflict, that's when we know we are normal, or what did you say?
Normalize.
Yeah, I said disagreement is the sign of normality.
Yes. Disagreement is the sign of normality. What are some tools to help people process through that are not accustomed to working through conflict, that they see conflict as a bad thing and they don't want to? It's like if they think if we have conflict in our relationship, then tomorrow or next week we're probably going to get divorced because we've had conflict. So what are some tools, some practical tools that you can maybe share that help you guys, that may help those watching?
I'll say, for one, don't leave, or like stay and work it out.
Yes.
I think sometimes people, when you're dating, you don't live in the same place, house, unless you're, already living together.
Like this say it, right.
Like we were dating, I could go home and he's at his
place. And I could go to my own place.
And even if we're not getting along, it's like, okay, well, I'm getting out of here. But when you get married, y'all are in the same house. You can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I can't drop you off.
Right. So sometimes people leave and go away for days, or, unless the Lord told you to do that, stay and work it out. It's like, sometimes what I was accustomed to seeing, growing up is, okay, well, I don't want to have this conversation. So I'm walking in my bedroom, I'm closing the door, and I'm not talking about it anymore. I'm shutting it down. And so whenever you do that, you leave the conversation open, and you really leave room for the adversary to come in and start talking to this person. You start talking to this spouse, and then, and that's how a lot of, strife or, things can come in. But I think working it out, that was one of the things that I really learned, because Michael's really good at let's sit, let's work this out, instead of being mad and stomping off and going our separate ways. Let's just talk through it, And so I was not used to doing that. And so that was one thing that I really learned, like, okay, instead of getting mad, just stay and work it out. Now, if it's getting, I would say if it's getting toxic and we're just being mean, then you probably do need to take a little breather, but always come back and have a conversation. But we call it
strife breaks.
Strife
breaks.
Yeah.
So just take that strife break and come back to the table and see if we can, start over again.
Yeah.
So you don't say something that you don't regret, because once those words come out,
can't take them back.
Catch them and try to reel them back in. It's like, it's out there now.
Right.
Now you really got to go do damage control.
Yeah. Absolutely. Everything. No name calling, like all that stuff, that's off limits.
No petty ministry.
No, right.
No petty. Don't be petty.
Yeah.
It's not going to solve the problem. Pettiness actually creates more problems.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. You said once you put the words out there, you can't take them back. So many times talking with people will bring words back that stung and really hurt from 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So those words really matter. I love that, Ashley, you said, no name calling and things like that. It's just like breaking down, and we can argue or fight in a healthy way. Those fair fighting rules, there are certain things that are just off limits that we're not going to say, or we're not going to behave this way, but we can definitely have a healthy debate, and hear one another out, and get to a resolution, get to a resolve, where we are both benefiting and the marriage is benefiting,
Absolutely.
That's really all it is you want to be heard.
Yeah, both people want to be heard. That's what people are fighting for space. And I think a lot of times it just has to be, I'm willing to listen to you, to hear your heart, and then you're willing to listen to me, not to respond. Because a lot of times people listen just so I can continue what I was saying. No, you weren't listening. Actually listen.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of times what people say and what we hear is two different things.
Two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Some people hear through the lens of their feelings. So if you're offended, you can't even hear what your spouse is trying to tell you.
Come on, say it.
Two, also in conflict, we also believe that you should do is keep a good opinion about your spouse. It's your spouse.
Yeah.
They don't hate you. They're not against you. You know? I think it's so important that in those challenging times, or as I call them, those heated times of fellowship, that you remember, I love this person and they love me and they got my back.
Yeah.
And they would not be telling me this, you know, to hurt me. They're saying this to help grow me and to encourage me and to make me better. And I think the key is, instead of getting bitter, let's get better together. But sometimes it's going to take some friction. It's going to take, you know, even the Bible says iron sharpens iron. I know we kind of use that as a brother thing, but I think period, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Spouse, y'all sharpen each other. And I think it's also, it makes everybody better. Y'all are able to grow. And I think at the end of the day, you become closer than you were before.
Yeah. And I think you said, you know, the iron sharpens iron. That is so true. And I don't think a lot of people understand that process of iron. When you rub two pieces of iron together, that's not a smooth, you know, thing. It's a grinding and so I always say that the marriage is like, your marriage is one of the things it's designed to do is really, it's like the sandpaper that smooths the edges. Some of the things, you know, so like I've learned to ask myself questions like, if Tanya does something and it irritates me, it's like, okay, why is that irritating me? And a lot of times the things that irritate me are the things that I need to work on. And it's not Tanya, it's me. And so I need to let, you know, Holy Spirit come in and talk to me about that trigger or that childhood memory, that's or how I was treated as a kid or whatever that is, that's causing me to respond to my spouse that way. And you know, sometimes it's not about her. It's most times it's not about her. It's about me. And the other thing that I kind of heard, and something that I had to learn from what you guys said, is understanding does not equal agreement.
Absolutely.
Right.
I can understand Tanya. I can understand her perspective. I can understand the way she sees things. That doesn't still mean I agree, but I can understand. And that right there, I think you talked about being heard. That's what being heard is saying, I don't see it that way, but I understand the why behind why you feel that way.
Right.
And I think that goes a long way.
It really does. I think in thinking about especially Christian couples, Christian families, it's this thought that we have to think exactly alike, or we have to enjoy the same things and do all the same. And it's not realistic. And so some people, they're raising their kids to, you know, well, you have to fit in this mode and this is how. No, like, we are all individual people. This is what makes marriage enjoyable, because you can teach me something, I can teach you something, new experiences, and, you know, all of these different things. And that's also what helps us to grow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay to be different.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really okay.
God made every fingerprint different. I think he was telling us something. He's like, if I wanted you all to be the same, then I would have done that. But yeah, that would be a very boring.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah. So I want to kind of switch gears just a little bit. So you mentioned earlier, Michael, about finances, and you guys did something very spectacular. You know, they say that probably the number one cause of divorce is money. And I always say, well, I think it's selfishness. It's selfishness around money, but you know, nonetheless, money is one of the number one causes. It's one of the number one causes. So, kind of tell us about your financial story, and I'll just, however you want to share, how much you want to share, just take it away.
Well, I want to say this before y'all share.
Okay.
So you guys were, I know, I'll let you tell your process, but you were featured or shouted out on Dave Ramsey and you were on His and Her Money with the McNeelys, which I love. And I was just like, y'all are doing the thing.
We got some famous people on our podcast.
God, look at God. Come on, Jesus.
Ain't nobody famous but God. That's
Yes.
We want
that journey. Tell us about that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Wow. Where do you want me to start with me?
Sure.
So in college, just like every other American, I had, and I got a hold of the Dave Ramsey podcast, and I started listening to the debt-free screams, the debt-free stories, and I was listening, and then I even started, watching it on television, and I was like, wait a minute, these people are young like me, and they're getting out of debt. Like, to me, I'm gonna be honest, I was looking for a way out. I was like, this debt, like, this is the devil. Like, I'm like, how do we get out of this? This is like, this is gonna hold me back. Like, this is not it's so discouraging. And I was just trying to find a way out. And then I saw that they offered the financial peace class. And so by this time we're dating and we're talking finances, and we hadn't really gotten deep into it, but I knew I had loans and all of that. And I don't know, did you know she didn't know I had loans.
Well, you told me.
Okay.
But I didn't know how much he had.
Yeah, she didn't know the number.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, let's, and I was one of those people, I was like, Lord, let's just I prayed for debt cancellation, and all of that stuff. I believe God and all of that. But I realize now the beauty of God allowing us to do it together. I didn't see it then, but now I see, because I was hoping that debt, I was believing, Lord, by the time I get ready we go to the altar, it's gonna go away. Cancel. And not that, don't get me wrong, I know I'm kind of being a little facetious, like, not that God can't do it, but I think a lot of times we as believers have to be honest that a lot of times we try to bypass process.
Come on.
Healthy for us. We want to bypass the process, and God is not going to rescue you out of everything because you need this. You need this to grow and to develop. And I had to learn that. I'm not saying that as someone who heard. I'm saying as somebody who had to walk through this process. Yeah. And so we started talking about it, and I was hesitant, of course, to tell her the number, of how big the student loan was. She didn't have any debt.
I didn't have any debt. I was blessed. My parents were able to pay for our college, so I didn't.
That really intimidated me, even more. But I was like, we have to talk about this, and I said, I want to go to this financial peace university, and we found one locally, because one of the things we talked about was we believe that God is going to cause us to be wealthy and all that one day, but there are steps to getting there. Sure. It's magic. You know what I'm saying? We were like, let's get in the class and because honestly, I really didn't know a whole lot about finance. I wasn't, my parents, like you said, our parents did the best that they could and what they knew how to do, but I didn't know a whole lot about it. And so I was like, I need to educate myself. I need to learn. And so we went to the class.
It was a great foundation.
It was. It really was.
It was a 9-week class. We went once a week every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
It was like from 6 to 9. It was like
3 hours.
Oh, class.
Yeah.
Isn't the best?
But it was worth it.
Because
when we left the class, we had a greater understanding because they talk about basically all things, but they talked about saving, they talked about retirement,
it's
investment,
It's a lot coming at you.
Yeah, they talked about a lot of things. So, which is why we actually ended up taking the class after we got married. We took it again.
Yes.
Just to solidify what we learned.
I think that's what propelled us to actually have become the debt-free story that y'all, talking about today. Because I think had we not had that, it can be discouraging, and of course we talked about the sacrifices and things that we made. Like, it was definitely not all peaches and cream, and we weren't perfect. We weren't some months, but we wasn't always doing our budget or sticking to the budget.
Yeah. But
I'm sorry, Ashley, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say that. So it took us 32 months, which was a little less than 2.5 years. but we ended up paying off a little over $57,000.
That is amazing, y'all. That is amazing. Wow. I mean, you guys, 5 years into marriage, and you've already gone through that process together. You know, I mean, people who have been married, I mean, we've been married for 20 years. People have been married as long as us and longer who are still struggling, you know, with debt. And for you guys to do that so early, you know, in your marriage is amazing. You know, we firmly believe that where we leave off is where our children will propel from.
Yeah.
And for you guys to have done that so early, even before you have kids and do all of those things, it's like, man, amazing, so beautiful. Yes.
What is the foundation too for our children, our future children?
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. I was going to ask, what did that do? And I don't know if that added any type of stressor to your marriage, or if it didn't. But did you see a result or a difference in your relationship after you guys went through that process?
Yeah, definitely. So at first, it did cause a little bit of stress because we were engaged when we actually laid out all the finances.
She's all in my business.
His and mine. We like laid out the bank statements, and we were looking through, and he did not like that.
I didn't. Well, and you know what I'm learning too? What we're not familiar with, it's easy for us to just reject. And you know, and then of course to expose, you know.
Yeah, it's gonna expose you when you do your budget for the first time. You
can financially make it before.
Yeah, that's the real thing.
Yeah,
they see, you know, the
your spending
trips
habits.
to Chick-fil-A, the shopping, you know, all of that stuff. You know, it just
that's of the Lord.
Yes, Chick-fil-A and Starbucks counts. Yes.
Yeah, we just have
to come back from the podcast.
For God's chicken.
Me too. So,
but yeah, it caused some stress at the beginning, but over time, and you know, when we finally got to the end, it was like, wow, there's nothing we can't do.
Yeah, we realized.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal.
Yeah. And that's so. It's like Tanya and I. We have this thing we always say with each other, and we try to encourage other couples to do this. Is we want to be open, honest, often. About everything. So whether that's money, whether that's our sex life, whether that's whatever is between us, we want to be honest with each other and say, here's what it is, because you're right. It's like you vulnerability is and that's another kind of triggering word for some people that it's hard to do. But you're right. It's like I don't want any. You know, I know they were physically naked, and when God created Adam and Eve, but they were also spiritually naked. They were, in other words, they were totally exposed to each other, and they didn't hide from each other until the fall. So the in marriage, you know, you should be, and there should be no parts of you that are hidden, even the ugly, like you know, I know you're talking about finances, Michael, but even the ugly stuff that we's like, I don't want nobody else to see this. You know, one of the Jimmy Evans, he always says that your spouse is designed to help heal you.
Yes.
So it's like in that moment, Ashley was helping to heal you financially. You know, so and if you would have stayed single, you may have went through that process, but maybe not, you know. So, you know, so that's really great. And the fact that you guys felt the stress relief, and also what you said, Ashley, if we could do this, I mean, what you did is almost, in today's time, is almost impossible. Maybe not impossible, but very impractical.
Right.
I'll say that.
Right.
And to know that you did that together, you know,
pretty powerful.
Yeah.
What is something that you guys would say to another couple, especially a young couple, about finances? Like, how do we, because I get this question often, well, how do you bring your money together? Like, you don't have separate accounts, or he pays these bills and you pay these bills. Like, what's y'all's belief in that? What would you say to another couple who's getting ready to get married or early in their marriage about how to bring their money together?
Well, I think that since you're already coming together as one, it's like you're taking on each other's baggage, not just emotional, but I think financial baggage is a real thing too. So
I mean, everybody brings baggage,
right.
if we just be honest, whatever that is.
Right. So I think that if you're going to come together, you're going to commingle your things together in the home. It's like your money needs to come along there too, because everything else up to that point is separate. But if you're going to come together, then you need to bring it all together. Because I feel like whenever you have your own separate thing, is something as big as finances, it's really easy to say like, hey, what are you spending? Or it seems like things can get kind of secretive.
Yeah.
I think that can cause division.
Yeah. Completely agree. That's good.
Yeah. And having a budget, I would, if you're nervous about it, like try coming together and create a little mock budget first. Yeah. That's what we did before we even got married. We're like, what would it look like when we put finances together?
Right.
What would it look like when we pay the bills? Like when we bring everything in the pot,
That's good.
It helped us feel comfortable too.
Yeah. Make it practical and a little, I call it exposure therapy.
It's great that you guys did that before you got married, because when we do premarital counseling, that's one of the things that we talk about, because it's one of the things that believe it or not, a lot of couples don't think about going into marriage. And I always say, my way, our way may not be the right way for you, but it's something that let's talk about it. What does your bills look like? What does your debt look like? What is your credit score? Because if I'm getting into this with you, then those are some things I may need to know, because we may want to buy a house one day, or all these things. And when you don't want to disclose that when you're sitting in front of the loan officer, and you're like, well, dang, man, So it's really great, that you guys were able to do that beforehand. And I was gonna say something else about that, but I forgot, so I guess it wasn't all that important. But that is so awesome. I mean, that's very inspirational. I mean, when we saw it, that was inspiring for us.
And I was so excited. I was like, after I shared it, when you guys shared it on social media, I shared, and I was like, wait, oops, was I supposed to do that?
Yeah.
I didn't even ask these people, but I was just
no. I mean, it's so, it's so funny, and I almost feel like it's selfish, but there was a goal that we just talked about. And, of course, in the world of social media that we're living today, we're like, we're just going to take pictures and like, hey, we did this. Like, we had no idea that it was going to end up being the impact that it was. But it makes me go back to the season of when I was praying, God, just wipe this debt out before I get married, and I can go on and be a millionaire and not have to worry about this. And didn't realize there was a bigger story being written that I could not see at the time, and so to know that it had this impact, and that people are like, hey, we need to learn about this, and hey, maybe we can do this. I mean, we started getting calls, messages. It was absolutely amazing that we could be an inspiration and encouragement to others. And that's what we really still want to do. But even as you said, as a tool, we just think, have the conversation with your spouse or your significant other, or your fiance. Have the conversation now. Because we talk about a lot of things, but that's one of them that we try to avoid. But if you start having the conversation now, I think it's going to help you when you get ready to take the next step, which would be marriage.
Right back to communication.
Yes.
That muscle. I mean, you got to really work on that muscle.
And even, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, communicate openly and honestly about everything all the time.
Like to say, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I said, I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was going to say, in for those of you who may have been married for 20 years and you're still struggling in that area, just have the conversation. Having the conversation doesn't hurt anything.
No, it
doesn't cost you anything. And that's not to say that you need to put all your money in one account yet. Right. I'm not saying you need to do that, but at least start to have the conversation. And because this is what I was going to say. One of the things I love about marriage is marriage creates synergy.
Yes.
You know, so if I always say if I'm making $100,000 a year, she's making $100,000 a year, we get married, my income just doubled.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's like, okay, it doubled, but if we don't have a plan for this money, Dave Ramsey, purpose for every dollar that you have, right?
Right.
When it doesn't have a purpose, when money doesn't have a purpose, it
wanders off.
It wanders off, and you be like, "Whoa! I know I just got paid, but you know what happened?" So it's like, but having those conversations really help. And I think when you have the conversation, for me, the not knowing is worse than what the actual situation is. So if we can have the conversation and find out, okay, where are we? It'll be that much better. So correct me if I'm wrong. Don't you guys have a course now on finances? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we did. We created a 5-day course.
We did.
And it comes with a 20-page ebook and all of that stuff. And it's the reason why we did is because so many people asked us, how did you do it? How did you do it? How did you do it? And a lot of times we were pointing them to Dave Ramsey, but we were like, that's a 9-week course. Like, so we were like, what is like?
People may want the quick version.
Quick version.
The Spark Notes.
Right. So we created a 5-day course, and it's a video course. And then you've got questions and stuff like that in the workbook. And it's just really helpful to kind of help put you on the right track, especially if you just don't know where to start. It's a great resource.
And that's actually what it's called. The 5
keys to getting started. The beginner's guide to debt freedom.
Yeah.
So
where can people purchase?
So we are our course is on thinkific.com. But a quicker way to get there if you're following us on social media. Like on Instagram, if you go to our Instagram pages and you go to our little link tree underneath the name, you can find links there on either one of our pages.
Okay.
So
okay, awesome.
Or you get messages as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Definitely. So I have another question, kind of switching gears again. A little, I guess, fun question. What how do I want to ask it? What do you wish you knew about your spouse before you got married? And I'm talking like the little habits and quirky things that you did not know before you got married.
Good question.
That is a really good question.
I have to think about that.
I'll give one away for us to kind of help you all out. So Glenn, I'm telling the whole world all your business.
Tell her.
Does this thing when he's falling asleep, he rubs his feet together.
Doesn't everybody?
Like you rubbing the sticks together to start a fire.
I don't rub that fast and hard. It's very gentle.
But he's rubbing his feet together, and I don't know how many years we were into marriage, and I was like, finally, babe, what are you doing? Like, I'm a light sleeper. It helps me to go to sleep. It soothes me. So that's his little soothing technique when he's falling asleep.
That's funny.
That is.
Okay, I do have one.
I do too.
Oh, okay. I wish I had realized just how important food is to Michael.
Really?
Yes. I'm like, even now, I'm like, wow. Like, food for Michael is an experience. So if it's not good, like, I can tell immediately. Or like the restaurant that we pick, like, he's got to have his input in there. Or like the food that I cook, Like, I don't ever just plan the menu by myself. He is all in.
You cook, Mike?
I give encouragement.
No.
I do a little bit. But I got to do more.
Yes.
But I am mostly a talker, reviewer, I guess if you want to call it. But
there you go.
You give descriptors.
I encourage her.
To this week. That's what I said. It's
foodie too, so I get that. I like eating out and it actually being. I'm like the experience, and I want to guess the ingredients and all of these things. So I get it.
I enjoy it. Like I want it to be tasty and savory and all of that. Like, and if it's not good, then that kind of does mess the experience up for me.
Yeah. I get that.
Who wants bad food?
Nobody.
All right, it's normal. But what I wish I knew is that you get very, how do I say, excited when you're watching television.
What?
Like, oh, don't go over there. Like, she gets. I'm sitting there watching TV and I'm thinking, like, what just happened?
You get involved, Ashley, in the show.
Very involved to the point where I'm like, "Are you okay?"
I be screaming.
I said, "They're gonna think I'm over here hurting you." Right now, like, come on, like, yeah, I did not know that. You see all of the beauty and all of the, great things and movies, and you're just so, even if it's there, you're just so caught up in the clouds. But then it's like, now we're sitting at home and she's just like, wait. And then like, she even braces herself, y'all. Like she's got this thing where she.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. The things.
I've never been in a house with anybody like that, but
that's so funny.
Now, do you do that in movie theaters?
No, I'm good.
That's not okay.
I'm good at the movie theater.
People pay their money.
Right. No. I do it at home, in the comfort of my home.
Yeah.
Yes, when you can be free to be you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's why I do that.
Right.
That's funny.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I know you guys have a lot happening right now. You got some things happening in the works. And I think, Glenn, you had a specific question about that. So I'll let you ask.
Okay.
That
Yeah. So I know, you guys are in a season of transition. So I wanted you guys to just talk about that. I read a post. I can't remember if it was you, Michael, or Ashley who made the post, but you guys were talking about how you just been really feeling this pull or this transition out of Louisiana to another state. So can you, in the last few minutes we have left, can you talk about that and knowing how, recognizing, because I think sometimes we tend to we fall in love with comfort, with being comfortable, and we don't recognize. Sometimes we stay in a place too long. Let me just say it that way, and we lose a lot when we do that. So, talk a little bit about how, for you were able to recognize that. Maybe what that felt like, how you were able to, hear that, sense that, and move forward with that.
Well, I think when you, first of all, you're open to God and you're like, hey, Lord, whatever you want to do, like, we're listening. I think first you have to be in that posture.
Yes.
We were talking to some friends of ours, and they actually moved to Tennessee about 2 years ago now. And somebody had told them, like, girl, you gonna leave that big old house that y'all have? She's like, it's more than just the house. Like, the material things, they don't matter.
During the pandemic.
When God says it's time to go, we're willing to say, yep, Lord, we're ready. So it's like none of that mattered to us. There was nothing holding us back that we could say, oh, well, we can't leave because of this. So we were already in the position to say, Lord, we always knew we weren't going to live in Louisiana. Even when we got married, we knew we weren't always going to live here and plant roots here. So we have always been open, but we really started sensing the call in 2020 during the pandemic. And I know a lot of people started sensing transition during that time too. And so we were like, okay, Lord, and we just thought for sure it was going to be like at the end of that year or the next year. And so, but that came and went, but we still, and then the urge or the sense was even stronger the next year. We were like, okay, so we even went as far as started telling our family and friends, close family and friends, people probably don't think
looking crazy.
We were crazy. But we told close family and friends, we were like, hey, y'all, we're going to be getting out of here. Like, they were like, where y'all going?
Where y'all go?
We don't know.
Huh? What? What was that?
Right. We're like, we don't know, but we just know we're probably going to be out of here by next year or, by the end of the year. And so finally, 2021 came and went and we were still here, but we were like, we just know, and it just kept getting stronger every year. So just to say, if you hear God calling you to transition, it may not be right away. Sometimes it's not. Right. So just listening for that.
Well, I think first it starts with the seed. Like God plants the seed, and then with your faith, you begin to just water that seed, just build your faith for what God wants to do next. Like it doesn't just, like we've been talking about, things don't just happen automatic. Not that God can't do it, but He knows when we're ready. That transition for the next thing. And so, even on a practical note, a lot of people don't know this, but in 2020, which seems crazy, before 2020 happened, I felt the Lord telling me to walk off my 9 to 5. Crazy, because I definitely didn't know a pandemic was happening. Sure. And I'll never forget. That Christmas, we went and told my parents, my dad, that next year I will not be returning. And my dad just looked at me like, so what's your plan? I was like, hey, I'm following the Lord. I said, I'm doing these virtual lessons. And so I know a lot of people probably, of course, seeing the posts that we put out, but this has been a process.
Yeah.
And to the point where, in faith, Ashley got out of the school system in person, physical school system, and shifted to virtual. Never done it before. Didn't know if she was even going to be able to get into it. But these are just faith moves, making pivots along the way, just because of what we heard.
Yeah.
The Lord said.
Because we said, if God decides to move us,
we don't want nothing to hold us back.
Anything holding us back.
So we put ourselves and position ourselves in such a way that when He says go, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I love it. it. So just being fluid, just like, Lord, we hear this, we feel this, we're sensing this. We're not certain when or where, but we know. There's a knowing. So because there's a knowing, we're going to prepare our lives to move whenever you say to do so.
Yeah. And that's so great. It's like being in faith, but also being strategic.
Yes.
A lot of times I think, we think that faith is just like,
whichever way the wind blows.
It's not. It's
reckless, right?
Yeah. And you're not. And it's great that you say that, because a lot of times looking from the outside in, we think, well, man, Mike just walked off his job, and well, he did, but God gave you a strategy,
right,
to do that. And I think that's the part that we miss a lot and especially, I say this, when I was young and I didn't have a family and all this, I could do stuff like that. I could be reckless. But now it's like, it's not just me, and it's not fair for me to say I'm moving to California to pursue my dream, and we're just gonna live out of my car, I can tell you now, this woman, she loves me. I don't know if she loved me like that. You know?
Right.
I don't like public restrooms.
And I know God, he knows us. And
Absolutely.
God would require that of me, knowing I'm like, God, you made me like this. You know how I am. You know how this woman is. So that's so great, being strategic. And even now talking, you know, when you said that, it just kind of triggered some things in me about being more strategic and positioning yourself. So when God says go, let's go. We got the U-Haul pack is ready to go, you know. So that's really great. And we're so happy.
Yeah.
It's making that faith and that work go together. Like, I truly believe preparation is an act of faith.
Yes.
You prepare for what you're expecting. No, it's amazing that we do that with everything in life, except when God is telling us to transition and make pivots. It's like, you know, a person is expecting a baby because they already going to buy the baby. You know, we start buying. We even went and bought U-Haul boxes.
Sure.
Mm.
I mean, transition. We in faith now. We did this in faith, but that's that faith and that work going together. I just truly, to me, I can tell what you are expecting by how you prepare.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
That's
good.
And another thing, I'll say this and we can move on, but you did what you could do.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we're sitting in this one of my other mentors. He didn't know he's my mentor, but he's my mentor from afar. Jamal King. He's in real estate investing. Really great guy. Shout out to Make Real Estate Real. He always says that. He's like, you know, a lot of people sit back on the sidelines and they're like, man, well, when I get the money, he's like, well, what can you do?
Mm-hmm.
You can go meet a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
You can go on Zillow and start looking for her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's things that you can do, and it's like the more you do and get yourself in that environment, you begin to open up yourself and, you know, just your life to that next step. So, man, that is great, and we're so excited for you guys. And I'll let you know that, you know, once you guys get settled, we may pass on through there. You know,
hey, y'all, come on. I'm serious. Come on, man. I want everybody to be open. It's funny, you know, and I'll say this, and we can move on. Ashley had said to me, because, you know, once we had made the announcement, people started finding out, even before we had put the post, because of course we had let some people know. She was like, well, what if people start moving and transitioning? I said, you know what? That's a good thing. I said, because 9 times out of 10, I believe we borrow faith. And what I mean by that is sometimes it takes us seeing Jesus on the water, and for me to hear him say, come, for me to come. Sometimes God could have already been speaking the word internally, but me saying, oh, you know what? Oh, they did it. That brings encouragement. Now I can go walk out there and do what God is telling me to do. So sometimes we have to see that. And I think that if our life can do that, you know, I mean, make sure it's the Lord leading you to do it now. But I think that we just got to be open. God's not going to keep everybody in one place and in one location. Like the kingdom is so big.
Yeah.
And so I think people just got to be open to whatever he's telling you to do, even if it's write a book, start a podcast, and all that. Like you said, what are the things that you can do now that's leading up to the destination or the word that God is? You know, I just truly believe that the word that God gives you, if people give a word of prophecy, because, you know, that's big and I believe in it, but there's also a preparation. There's a process that goes with it. The process doesn't just, I mean, look at Joseph's life. It took a long time for that word to manifest.
Yeah.
He dreamed at 17 years old.
Yeah.
But he wasn't in position until he was like 30 something.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, and all of that is what God is doing in us, because really it's more about who we become along the way.
Come on. Yes.
Getting to the destination.
Yes. Yes. That's my becoming. We are steadily in the process, the journey of becoming who God has created us to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So you might as well go ahead and pass the offering plate,
yes,
brother.
On that one. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, man, so we want to thank you guys so much. I mean, we could do this. That's the thing about this. We could do this all day. You know, we could talk like this all day long, but I know we want to give the people a rest. But just real quick, I know like you guys have the class. I know Ashley, you've written a book.
Yes.
Michael, you're doing the virtual lessons. I'm telling you, I'm not saying that if you take lessons from Michael, you're going to play like Michael. If I would take lessons from anybody, it would be Mike, because he's definitely my top 5. But just real quick, I want you to just share some things that you have going on, how people can get in contact with you, where they can find your book, your course, all that good stuff, social media, all that kind of stuff, your podcast, all that information.
Yes, so we recently just started a podcast called With Love, the Walters. And so that's on Spotify, Google Play,
those digital
Apple, all that stuff. So, but you can find me at Ashley M. Walter on Instagram, and
the Michael Walter on Instagram. Facebook, Michael Walter. You should see our picture. Should come up. And like I said, she has a devotional, Always in Blossom. I have a single on iTunes, Your Love Is So Amazing, but there's new music that I've got coming out, but I've also done some collabs with 318 Collective. We've got some great music that is out and coming, more that's coming on the way, and so we'll definitely be on the lookout for that. And there's many other things, like you said, in the works. And
but I wanted to say too, before we end, that I think it's something beautiful about when two people come together in agreement, a lot of things can happen.
Yes.
And so when the two of you agree, I feel like that's confirmation from God. It's like, we both agreeing, and we both sense this at the same time. Like, powerful things happen when two people come together.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. Yes, I believe that as well. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank y'all so much.
Oh, thank y'all so much.
For having
me. And this is not, I want to let you know, this is the first, but not the last time.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes.
So we want to have you guys back and just share more. I think people are really going to get a lot out of this. And so that's all we have for you guys this week. You know where to get at us. I'm not going to go through all that. Do all the things, follow, share, like, subscribe, all those things. You have anything else?
No.
All right. Again, we want to thank the Walters for being on with us. Go follow them. They have a lot of great information. And, we're all about, we always say, tools, tips, tricks, and tools.
Yes.
They have those things on their websites, their social media. So they're a great resource. So until next time, this is Glenn and Tanya Coleman along with Michael and Ashley Walters reminding you that your marriage matters. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.